Here are 6 techniques you can copy from Reilly Opelka to help improve your serve. Now, this video is courtesy of Court Level Tennis on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to their awesome channel. I've put their link in the description below. Number 1, at the beginning of your serve, have your racket face pointing slightly up. This is an indicator that you have the correct grip. Now, it's possible to do this if you have a forehand grip. You would just have to really curl the wrist in order to do that. But when you have a proper continental grip, the racket face will be naturally open. And if you aren't sure what a continental grip is, you're going to place the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad on panel number 2. This is for right-handers. And here it is for you lefties. Put the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad on panel number 2. Next, let's take a look at his feet. He uses a pinpoint stance, but I want you to look where he places his back foot. This is very reminiscent of John Isner, where when John Isner would bring his back foot up, he would place the toe of his back foot where the heel of his front foot is. This really keeps the player coiled for longer. You see so many recreational players, they bring their back foot around and then it comes almost like on a foot fault. I actually gave a lesson to someone recently live on Zoom and they were foot faulting with their right foot as a right-hander. They were bringing it all the way around. Obviously, Opelka has a great serve and he is going to be keeping that foot back to really stay coiled. The longer you can stay coiled when it's time to explode, it's a real corkscrew of energy that goes up into the ball. So film yourself serving and make sure if you have a pinpoint stance that you're keeping the back foot behind your front foot to stay coiled longer. Number 3, I want you to look at this position right here. So when you film yourself serving, which you should always be doing so that you can keep track of what you're doing and compare it to what you're learning in these videos, take a look when it comes to what your racket position is when the racket's rising. A couple things here. One, we can see that his strings are pointing down. But not just that. Look where the tip of the racket is pointing. The tip of the racket from the back view is pointing off to the right, the same direction as his body. If you're someone who struggles with the waiter's tray and your strings are facing up, it's partly due to the grip usually, but it also is because players take their racket across their feet and the racket goes way back here. You'll notice with his serve, his racket never goes to that red circle. His racket is actually going up in front of him. It's not going across his feet to go behind him. Now, I'm not saying if someone goes across their feet that it's necessarily wrong, because there are pros who have gone across their feet like this and their serve is beautiful. But when it comes to rec players watching my videos, usually we don't have those amazing serves of players who go way back here. So it helps us to copy certain types of technique, which is when the racket lifts up, have the racket in front of your chest, have the tip of the racket pointing the direction of your chest, and have your strings facing down. When your strings are down and the racket rises up in front of you, that gets you primed and ready to use the proper throwing motion. And the proper throwing motion is, you guessed it, hitting the birthday hat. So I've taught this since 2014. The idea of having a birthday hat on your head, and you should wear a physical birthday hat. If you've watched me for any amount of time, you've seen me hit thousands of serves with a birthday hat on my head. The proper motion on a serve will actually knock a birthday hat off your head. So if we just zoom in here, look at his racket. You can see the shadow tracking right over his hat. So if he was wearing a birthday hat, he would hit the hat. Another way to think of this is from the back view here, from this camera angle, the racket's going from right to left. That's the motion that the racket takes. This is also only possible if the racket comes up in front of you. If you go across your feet like this, there's no way to hit the birthday hat. The birthday hat is knocked off from front to back, from front to back. So wear a physical birthday hat to give you the instant feedback as to whether or not the racket's passing in over the head. That gives you the circular motion for racket speed. The racket path is circular. It's how you gain all of that speed up to the ball because there's no jagged edge. Like you don't want your racket to go down, stop, and then to the ball. Everything's got to be round. And when it's round, it can accelerate. So knock off a birthday hat in order to learn that circular motion. Now let's discuss his leg drive timing. This is critical for maximizing your racket speed. leg drive only works if you drive up at the right time. So we just talked about the birthday hat. So the birthday hat is the latest your legs can drive up. So let's look at, and I'll explain this, let's look at where his head is when he's at his lowest point, which is right there. So we put a line right across his hat. So watch how his head goes down to that yellow line and then back up again. So what we have to check is where is his racket when his hat becomes visible over the yellow line. Let's check it out. So there you go. So his racket is here. This is one of the earlier motions where I've seen players drive their legs up, which is great. You want to drive your legs up anywhere from here to here. This is the area where the racket should be when the body begins exploding up. What I typically see is rec players, even if they do hit the birthday hat, they knock the birthday hat off and then their racket is dropping. And their racket is all the way down here behind them. And I'll give you kind of where that is. Like here. The racket is behind their back, behind their shoulder. And that's when they finally begin the leg explosion and that push and that drive pushing down against the ground. The problem with that is that will minimize the shoulder stretch, meaning we want the body going up either as or just before you hit the birthday hat. That means that you get the body going up as the racket's going down. That maximizes the stretch you get in the shoulder. It becomes like a catapult, and then boom, you can crush the serve. And he's just hitting nice, light, easy serves. But for him, a light serve is like our fastest serve. But what you want to do is make sure that you are driving the legs up before you hit the birthday hat, either as you hit the birthday hat, like Nadal and Djokovic and Federer, or before you hit the birthday hat, like Opelka and Roddick, Dimitrov, Ben Shelton. So this area is where your racket should be when the leg drive begins to maximize the benefit you'll receive and the power benefit you'll receive from the leg drive. Now, one thing I do want to mention, when you film yourself serving and you notice that the racket is behind your back and then you're exploding up, which wouldn't give you the real benefit of the leg drive, the solution is to toss lower. Let me explain. What coaches often call this is an early racket drop, where the racket drops and then the legs drive. And coaches will say, oh, you dropped the racket down too early. You got to wait for the legs. But the racket would then have to pause somewhere. There's no need to pause here and just wait for the leg drive to occur. Instead, don't toss so high. See, when you toss really high, the legs have to stay squatted longer because you have to wait for the ball to come back down. I mean, just imagine how long you'd have to squat down if you tossed it up to the clouds, right? You'd have to really stay down low, right? So we can't jump up a mile in the air. So we have to wait for the ball to come back down. Well, that waiting is what gives the racket time to hit the birthday hat and go down here. So the solution isn't to blame the racket and say, oh, you dropped early with the racket going down behind your back. No, the solution is to toss lower so that the leg drive can happen earlier. So instead of saying the racket drop is early, the leg drive is actually late, and it's because the toss is too high. So toss lower, you'll be forced to drive the legs up sooner, which will be before you hit the birthday hat. Then you maximize the benefit of the leg drive. And the last idea is you want to make sure that you're not swinging straight toward your target, but that you're swinging to the side of your target. Let's just look at the basics here. He is swinging this direction. He is not swinging where he's serving. This serve goes like this. The ball follows that yellow line. But look at the path of his racket. He's not tracking out toward the yellow line and toward the target. He is swinging this direction. And that's because when he goes up to hit this serve, this is actually a slice serve. When he goes up to hit this ball, he still has the leading edge slightly in front. When you go up with a continental grip, you're going to be leading naturally with this front edge. That means as a right-hander, your strings are going to face to the left. As a lefty, your strings face to the right. So if you swing with a continental grip straight towards your target, the ball is going to go over here. That's why people really struggle with the continental grip, because with a forehand grip, you actually do swing towards your target, and then the ball goes there. So then people change their grip, and then they swing still toward their target, and the ball goes to the next score, and they go, well, I guess that grip doesn't work. When what they really need to do is swing off to the right if they're right-handed, and swing more off to the left if you're left-handed. So there's a lot going on here, which I'm not going to get into in this video with the pronation and how much of the pronation happens before contact versus after contact. I think I'll do that later on today and really get into the nitty-gritty of that. But just make sure if you've got a true continental grip that you are still leading with the front edge at contact, but that you're swinging a bit more to the side of your target and not straight toward your target. That's going to give you spin, which your opponent hates, and it makes you really consistent. Now, if you're tired of lugging around your old and outdated ball machine, then just make your tennis friends jealous and get the Proton ball machine by Hydrogen Sports. And right now you can get free shipping in the USA when you use my link. It's in the description. You'll find it in the first comment. You'll also see it on the screen at the end of this video. The Proton is fully programmable using its intuitive app. In fact, you control it using your smartphone or watch. It holds up to 100 balls and weighs less than 20 pounds. To see how truly amazing this ball machine is, and to get free shipping when you order one, be sure to use my link. So click right there to check out the Proton ball machine, and with that link, you're given a coupon code for free shipping. Film yourself serving, compare yourself to Opelka, and see how you can improve. If you do, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reilly from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.